report. We had 58 code inspections, wrote 53 permits. We had 9 new businesses open and 2 closed. One of those is the same business, just changed names. Walton Behavioral Hospital is still an ongoing major project that we have going on right now in the city. We continue to receive and process plans for review. That's picked up significantly. So hopefully we'll see an uptick in actual development soon. And we've been cleaning up expired permits. That's projects we've been working on for a while that I haven't mentioned before, but we had quite a number of expired permits that weren't closed out, so we're going through those, working our way through those and cleaning those up and getting them squared away. The city marshal removed 24 signs from the roadway, wrote 104 repair cleanup orders, did re-inspections on those, investigated 4 tampering and theft cases, wrote 5 citations, and represented the city in municipal court. The Historic Preservation Commission issued 3 certificate of appropriatenesses, that's even plural, and the Planning Commission heard a request for a rezone on the Shops of Breed Love to make it a congruous zoning application. If you have any other questions about the balance of the report, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yes, sir.
Electric and telecom.
Thank you, Mayor. So on a little over 12 million kilowatt hours in June, which is a little lower than I expected. The total bill is right at $1 million. Items of interest, we had highest total traffic during the month. Peak was 2.5 gigabits per second, with the majority of that still going to the internet tie, where we have most of our capacity. Pole inspection was completed this year, and the section they did was mostly on the north end of town. I'm happy to say that when we started these pole inspections 5 years ago, this is the first time we've made it through the whole city. We had a reject rate of about 36% 5 years ago, and this year is 8%, which is much, much better. Pad mount inspection will start before the end of the month or first of next month, and we should be wrapped up with that by the following month. We have weathered several storms here lately, and in conjunction with that, we've had several people that just can't seem to drive. So we've had some outages with poles broken. The majority of those poles broken with a car that we caught, they paid for that. They took, their insurance company had to pay for that. We did have one on North Broad that broke a pole in front of Neil Jackson's office, and somehow they drove away. I still haven't figured that one out. And we responded for calls for assistance down in Mansfield. I'll take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor.
Finance, Logan.
All right, thanks, sir. Real quick, we'll just look over the performance indicators, these metrics here. Just a couple highlights. As Brian mentioned, we have had a lot of storms and some pole issues. As such, we have a lot of incoming calls. We had 8,475 incoming calls to the call center. That's here and the after hours. It's a pretty good jump from the previous month. And overall, we had a 4.9% abandoned rate. So that's I'm pretty proud of that for the call volume that we had. Looking at some of our customer counts year over year, pretty steady overall. We've picked up some customers in electric and certainly in internet, but everything else is pretty much flat through the year. We'll turn on over to the financial reports. Looking at our cash balances, of course I always like to compare what we were doing this time last year. I don't have that. Everything is right on par from where we were. We have pretty healthy cash balances in our governmental funds. Our capital projects funds are good. SPLOST money is still coming in at a good rate, although we'll be spending that down as we get these transportation projects ramped up. Some of our other enterprise funds doing well cash flow wise, so no cause for concern there. Going through on the next page in the general fund for the period ending June 30th. Total revenues right on point, 50%, right where we should be. This takes into account some estimations for our taxes, some of our larger taxes like insurance premium, but otherwise all of our revenues are right on point or above. Expenses are being held down government-wide about 44%, 43%. So things are looking positive there throughout all of our departments. Carry on over to the combined utilities fund through June 30th. We're looking at another solid on-point budget for about 51–52% of our revenue percentages. The only thing that is really not at or exceeding budget is cable TV. Some of our costs are down there as well, so that's not really a huge cause for concern right now. Our other expenses are holding the line as well, 40% total combined utilities. Carry on over to solid waste department and that fund through June 30th, 47% year-to-date budget. You'll notice we're almost exactly on point where we were last year. We're down about $80,000, but overall our expenses are being held down $127,000. So that's exactly where we want to be going forward for the second half of the year. And we are currently caught up on our billings as well, so doing a great job over there. SPLOST, we had a good month, a little bit of a bump, second highest of the year for January, $121,202 was our receipt. So hopefully some of the summer buying will start to ramp up and we'll see those collections as we go through the next couple of months. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Okay, thank you, Buddy. Fire department, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Fire department had 185 calls for service, had 173 calls to the department. I want to mention the training event, or not training events, but PR events that fire's been doing over the summer at Boys and Girls Club. It's just been a great thing. They're actually doing some of the agility events like a firefighter does, some of those training events. We actually got to take the ladder truck out and kind of sprinkle and cause a rainstorm for the kids. They really enjoyed that. There's an upcoming event on August 13th. It's going to be at the Monroe Museum. We're going to have one of the oldest fire trucks there that was ever used by the fire department. It's either the second or third fire trucks that the department ever used. Of course, we'll have our newest one there. Also, pending your questions.
Okay, I don't think we have any information on the police department. If you have anything you can share with us.
We had 3,478 calls for service, 1,777 calls to the PD, 130 court cases, 114 hours training, 83 Part 1 crimes, 174 Part 2 crimes. Of course, we had several community events, everything from the concerts to farmers market. Probably the biggest news happened last week, but we got 2 indictments and made 2 arrests in the 1988 murder of Willie Joe Beasley. That was a cold case that we looked at back 5 years ago. We've looked at several cases. We've identified 3 to 5 that we think we can solve to the point of getting indictments and getting arrests made over the next probably 6 months. Pending your questions. Oh, the North Broad pole incident Brian was talking about, I can assure you it wasn't a Honda. It was something a lot larger. It was probably a tractor trailer that hit it and went on down the road, but it wasn't a small passenger vehicle. It's still been sitting there. But pending your question.
Thank you. Thank you. Solid waste.
Thank you, Mayor. Our residential collection was up a little bit for the month of June. Everything else pretty consistent. Also, our recycling was up about 160 tons for the month of June. That's about like 15% diversion rate. Most of that came from yard trimmings. We collected over 125 tons limb and yard. I take any question you might have. That's all I have.
I got a quick question. Do you all pick up out there at Somerset?
No, we don't. It's outside the city.
It's another community out there, right? It's Somerset right below Tanglewood. Or is
Oh,
that
the
Green Acres? Yeah.
You mean the Green Acres? Yeah, it's an option. You know, we just make it an option, but they have option to use the outside haul if they choose to.
But all their utilities on Monroe Utilities. Is that right?
Yes, but they outside the boundary scope around the city limits.
So what would they have to do to actually make it where you all can pick up their trash?
Well, they don't-
As far as leaves and stuff like that?
Well, we only offer just curbside recycling and garbage pickup. We don't offer that service. Because it's comparing apple to apples, you know, if you had a outside hauler would pick up that same service, that's what we compare it to.
And the reason I asked you that, somebody was asking me that they full with Monroe Utility, but someone else had to come take their limbs and stuff off, and I said I'd look into it.
Yeah. That's pretty much the way it works. They're counted, they have the option to pick up any other hauler. We just use that same service compared to apples to apples. You know. They're outside the city limits, we just don't provide that service for county residents.
Is there any way we could change that? Because the city pick back up as you go past it.
Yeah, you just have to look at the boundaries and based on tax digest and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Any more questions? Thank you, Danny.
Mm-hmm.
Streets and Transportation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Highlighting the report for the month of June. The admin side, we rented out the community building 4 times. Fleet maintenance division completed 98 work orders, units of work, maintaining, corrective, and preventative maintenance throughout our fleet. Our grounds division continues to keep our public facilities, those grounds maintained and cut. Street division completed the clearing of the trees for the new fence at the airport. We've recently reached the Tall Oaks area of our sidewalk project on East Church Street. And our right-of-way crew that we've started several months ago, they've picked up almost 2,000 pounds or a ton of trash, along with keeping our right-of-ways maintained. That number kind of just jumped off the page at me. Moving on into our sign and markings division, had 70 units of work completed there and 62 in our building maintenance division. And I'll be glad to entertain any questions regarding the report.
Where did you do the traffic study?
Ma'am?
I noticed there was one traffic study done.
For the month of June, I'm not sure if that was on the Harris, Ash, Lane and Street area, or if that was, it wasn't McDaniel, that one was just pulled up. I think it was Harris Street and Ash Lane, maybe. I think it's where that,
I believe you're right, because that's the one that we've had
I think so. I think that was in June.
complaints about, and I think that is right.
Do you got the study of that area over there?
Yes, it's complete.
What was the outcome?
That it really didn't warrant any kind of common device, if I remember correctly. It wasn't 11 miles an hour over the speed limit. The 85th didn't qualify for any type of common device over the posted limit. If my memory serves me correct, I can get with that, get with you in the morning if you'd like.
Right.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Water, sewer, gas, and stormwater, right?
Thanks, Mayor. The water treatment plant processed 94 million gallons of water in the month of June. 14 million of that went to the Walton County. Water distribution, we had 72 work orders, 26 emergency or after-hour calls. Wastewater, we processed or treated 54 million. Wastewater collection, we had 8 work orders with 2 after-hour emergency calls.
Natural gas, we sold 12,537 MCFs of gas, 20 work orders with 9 lead calls, stormwater, 200 foot of pipe installation or repair, 260 feet of ditch or pipe cleaned, and 64 grates cleaned or cleared. And at the training center, we had 14 classes that were on site, 75 attended, and we had 1 off-site class with 5. Any questions? I'm more than happy to answer those.
Okay, thank you, Wade. Completes our department report, we're moving to committee information, starting with finance.
Thank you, Mayor. We have several items on the agenda this evening, and Logan and Chris are going to tag team these, is my understanding.
That's right. For this first one, it's a procurement card policy revision. This is something that we've been working on to just tighten up a little bit of language that we had on some purchasing card policies that was originally approved on December 9th, 2015. I'll let Chris kind of present this one, if you would. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
You can actually probably hit both the procurement card policies and the regular staff.
Turn the microphone so folks can hear you.
And the recorder's not working. I'll talk loud enough. I was going to see if I could put together both the procurement card policy for the regular staff and then the one for elected officials, since they pretty much mirror one another with just a few slight differences. The additions are actually added in the excluded usage and charges, and they refer to in the regular P-card policy, the meals unless specifically related to city-sponsored events or exceptions is approved by the city administrator. And the same thing is added into the elected officials P-card policy, with the exception of it doesn't require approval by the city administrator because it's a council decision, mayor decision, when expenses are being made on meals. And then both policies are actually going to eliminate the Form B that was in there, which was actually a log sheet for everyone with a P-card, simply because when we initially approved this, felt like there was a need to have that tracking sheet, but with the detail of the actual online system that I see every day that Connie sees in accounts payable, there's no need for each individual to fill out this sheet just because there's far more detail on the system. And it's the addition of paperwork, or having the addition of paperwork, and just trying to eliminate that. So those are the two changes to the P-card policies for staff and then for elected officials.
One other note is, this gets asked, why do we have a separate elected official policy? This goes back to House Bill 192 from last year. State law mandated that we have to have a separate policy for all elected officials and appointed officials.
This matter is before the committee for approval, to present to the full council. Do I have a motion? We'll take them one at a time. The staff procurement card policy revision.
Move to approve.
Have a motion, to have a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
We'll present that in full council next week. Need a motion on the approval for procurement card policy revision for elected officials.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're down to the purchasing policy revision, Chris. Third item.
To get that kind of started, the additions to the policy that I'll jump on, there are those 3. Number 12 is added in there, the purchasing cards and P-cards, to include itemized receipts are required to be attached to all P-card transactions. Basically what this entails is anytime you upload receipts to the system, it's to be an itemized receipt as opposed to just one generic receipt that says I spent X amount of dollars. It's to cover every item that's on that receipt. 15, capital improvement project CIP. All CIP projects require approval of City Council if the overall project expense is anticipated to be over $10,000. CIP projects are required to include a material list with budgetary numbers when submitting approval requests. So basically, any CIP project that's brought before it that has an overall expense of, let's say even $20,000, there needs to be, like I can use Rodney for example, water, sewer, gas, when we purchased a water pipe, let's say for instance last month, and it was $92,000. It was detailed, everything on there that was going to be purchased for that $92,000, how much pipe, how many fittings, how many accessories, hydrants, valves, different things of that nature. That's to go across the board with everything, as opposed to just the general creation of a project without having specifics in there. Number 20, standing improvement purchases, and this is the one that I'm actually going to leave a little bit open-ended and ask for a little bit of assistance on. Items approved for purchase going forward by City Council without additional per purchase approval required. Items with standing approval are as follows. Any chemicals for treatment plants, fuel for public works storage consumption, fuel for airport resale, pole mount and pad mount transformers for electric not to exceed $25,000. The chemicals for the treatment plants was approved in whole by the council years ago. I'm not sure of the date of it, so anytime that there's a chemical expense, it's $11,000, $12,000. That's obviously something we got to have to treat water, treat wastewater, so it's automatically approved. Then you get the fuel for public works storage and consumption. Every time they buy fuel to fill up the tank, it's $11,000, $12,000 roughly. So that's not something we bring back to council, something that was already approved. I wanted to add the airport fuel. What we purchase for our fuel farm there is going to be anywhere from about $28,000 to $38,000, depending on the price per gallon each time. And then the last one, pole mount, pad mount transformers, and Brian can speak a little bit to this too. If we buy a 1,500 kVA transformer, we're looking at what, $19,000, $20,000 roughly.
2023.
But it's something that we would need for commercial development. And I included in there quotation for every transformer that we actually have in inventory. So I put that not to exceed $25,000 limit in there.
And it's rare that we would.
Right.
Ones that exceed that are the 2,000s or 2,500s. The majority of our commercial transformers are the 300 kVA and 500 kVA. And so they're going to be around $12,000, $13,000.
Right. So as opposed to having to bring that before council each time, maybe I would say if we purchased it during the month, maybe have an update to the council at the following meeting about what the purchase was. So if that $25,000 number sits well, we'll adhere to that. If not, obviously we'll make adjustments.
Chris, on these things like the chemicals for the sewage plant or the fuel for public works, I understand the need when we run out, you need to get it, like those chemicals. But how often do we bid that out?
Every time we buy it. The fuel was bid
There's 3 quotes
that
on the
day.
fuel.
That's the biggest reason we had that bid at the time, or had that approved at the time, was because it's a time-sensitive purchase. Same with airport fuel. If I request a price, I think prices change every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So if I get a bid on Monday, then I've got to have a PO to them by Tuesday, or else that price changes. And we're in jeopardy of that price increase. So every time we buy those, it's bid. And that obviously wouldn't change because that'll fall in line with the actual quotations required for purchases over $10,000.
So the bid process stays the same. The thing that changes or is exempted, not necessarily changes, but things that are exempted
Correct.
from coming to the council
Correct.
each time. Okay.
So, a couple of changes to sections of the bids or price quotations. Basically, all I did there is where the approval limits currently stand. They're at $1,500 for foremen and below. They're at $3,000 for department heads and below. They're at $10,000 for city administrator and below. Anything over 10 comes to the council. Anything over 100 sealed bid. Essentially, I made the quotations that are required match those numbers as opposed to being different like they were. It's kind of a housekeeping situation. And then the only other change was on the credit card, store card. It used to read receipts are required to be turned in promptly following all purchase. Now it's itemized receipts. So there again, instead of a generic receipt, you have an itemized receipt. That's all I've got on this question.
Let me ask you this, on projects that come to us, where we have to have the engineering work done outside, are we bidding those out, or are they automatically sent over to Hostel?
Years ago, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm not mistaken, came before the council, I think it was wastewater engineers, that I think Hofstadter was providing our engineering services. So in that regard, they provide our engineering services.
And all electric, it's Electric Cities of Georgia.
Right.
Kenwood does gas.
Kenwood does gas.
On cable TV, it's Z-Corp.
Right. So say for instance, on the airport, it's got Wagner, Sumner, Gannon, which is required by the DOT to be bid out every 5 years for us to continue to receive federal grant funds.
But to help answer your question too, I don't think it should be automatic that we just go to company A or company B. I think we ought to, when we have a major project to construct, it should be bid out.
I do too.
And they have a shot at it. Just like
Exactly.
anybody. But we have if we have something that needs some engineering on it, say, look, we've got to have a diagram, a sketch, and Hofstadter or Kenwood's available, and it's a $2,000 job or $5,000 job, you get it done quick, I don't mind. But a big project, we cannot be competing.
I agree.
That was going to be my question. What would you define as a major?
I'd say anything that's 50 or above.
That was my number. What do y'all think?
Well, I don't know. I think that in the past and before we have hired, after evaluation, a engineer for an area that gains experience in that area and professional services are not required to be bid, I think that you might look at it every now and then to see that you're in line, but I think there's something to be said for building the personal relationship it's like Mr. Hofstadler's knowledge of our water plant, our sewer plant, the work that he's previously done. I can't help but believe that that gives some advantage on pricing when you're looking at something new. You know, and there's some examples. I think these water meters were an example of where we go out here and get them installed with an absolute lowest bid,
Yeah.
and it turns out to be a total catastrophe. And it looks like sometimes that's the kind of thing that I think that's the reasoning behind not necessarily requiring bids for your engineering services. That may not mean that it's totally automatic, but to bid every engineering job, I don't really think that's necessary. I mean, we could go and bid our audit services for every year, but I could assure you that the pricing would be, if they knew that they were going to bid those services every year, they're going to charge you a premium, because there's something to be said for building the professional relationship. I mean,
And just the inside knowledge that they do have. You know, you may get a project bid that one of our engineers already knows what we've got and the problems that it might present, and they can build that price into it. If you get another engineer that's just basing it totally off specs and he misses it by a ton, will you offer him that or give him that job, and then you gotta go back and redo the whole thing just on the knowledge, because he didn't have that knowledge. So I mean, there is an advantage to using some of the same engineers that we use.
If I can add one thing, speaking of water and sewer, up until 2006, Wiedemann Singleton was our water and sewer engineer from 1935 to 2006, when the council elected to bring Carl in. Wiedemann Singleton had all those years of knowledge of our system. They designed our first water plant, they designed the new water plant that's there now, they designed your sewer plant, all of that's gone. So now you've got Carl in here, and we basically got him up to speed on the whole design, how it works.
It's taken 10 years.
And it's taken us this long to do that. In fact, when we did the plant upgrade, the water plant, Carl actually subbed that job out to Wiedemann Singleton. So you do lose a lot of knowledge there. We lost a lot when we let Wiedemann go.
And you end up scanning and sending everything to that new engineer that the other one's doing, so they can copy it and take the stuff
And
out.
that's what, there's an internal cost to doing that in a repetitive rate. You know, to the point that you're checking in on people to keep people honest, I think is a good way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think I see both sides. I certainly see the benefit of using somebody you built a relationship with that knows your system. But I think you still owe it to the taxpayers of the city of Monroe to check them out every now and then. And that's just common sense. Doesn't mean you're going to go with a low bid. It doesn't mean that somebody beats Hofstadter by 10 grand, you're going with them. It just means that you're just looking out for the citizens of Monroe. Yeah, I mean.
And I think that in-house engineer that's been here and developed that relationship, it kind of keeps them also aware. Yeah, and I don't think there's one thing wrong with that. It's not a slap to them. It's not, no implication for them. It's just looking after the best interest of the money.
I don't think I'd just be voting for the low bid just because we got one.
Right, you don't want the lowest and best, you want the best experience and all. Your greatest savings can be had usually with your construction project, construction
We've
side.
moved off of what we need to be talking about.
On to item purchasing policy revision approval. That's where we are. I need a motion.
Just a question. A valid one, too.
Move to approve.
Have a motion, to have a second?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll present that to full council next week. Approval of travel policy revision.
Okay. Couple of additions here that Ron and Logan and myself sat down and talked over. And I'll go through them as quick as I can. If you look at the meals section, basically it changes it from providing per diem for all meals when you go on a trip. It says, should any meals be provided as part of attending the conference or when that per diem is not to be claimed by the attending party for those meals provided. Conference event agenda must be provided when requesting reimbursement per diem for meals. Now, the second point, credit cards, procurement cards, P cards are not to be used in place of per diem for meals. Third point, business meals. The requesting party is an elected official or member of the management staff for the city of Monroe. Also, business meals. If the requesting party is a member of management staff, department directors, department heads, the request must be cleared at least 48 hours in advance by the city administrator. Third item on business meals, the total meal party is no greater than 3 members to include the city of Monroe staff member. The fourth point on business meals, an itemized receipt is provided along with a documented explanation of the event and how it is beneficial to the city. Fifth item on business meals, it is submitted on a travel expense form, which is Form A, the one that everybody always submits after returning from travel. The last one, pretty easy, personal vehicles. This is more or less housekeeping. Mileage expense is to be calculated from City Hall. So no matter where you're actually leaving from, you calculate your starting point as City Hall to 15 on Cross Street. We just feel like those changes going forward will help us and benefit the city.
Let me ask you this. Was there a reason for this, or but somebody been abusing it or something? Or just something just thought
It's
you
just
could do?
something that we actually thought would, for one, save money on the budget side when it comes to meals. No one was abusing it as far as it goes to claiming per diem when there was something provided, because that wasn't the way the policy was previously interpreted and approved.
And I always thought that I've never claimed
Exactly.
a meal when
And I think-
whether I ate it or
Right.
not.
And I think that was the confusion. I think a lot of people thought they could, a lot of people didn't, because they didn't think they could. But this is changing it to where if it's provided,
Yeah, I mean,
That's
just get paid
And this
twice.
was policy up until a year or so ago.
until
I never knew.
January of
Right.
2015, it was changed to where all
It's the standard kind of policy you see in most places that I've ever worked. That's the way it is.
it returns it to what it was.
Okay.
I have a question on the part about the P cards. If a person is traveling and they are buying their meal, in other words, it's not provided by the conference, right? So it's a legitimate meal purchase. Are you saying here that a person cannot put their meal on their P card and then settle up on the expense report as far as the per diem?
I would prefer not to.
Okay.
I think you get into a lot of, you get into an accounting issue of it.
I'm not disagreeing, I just wanted to be, I'm trying
And that would be my take.
I wanted to be sure I understood what they're saying.
And avoid the meal altogether.
So you saying don't put the meal on the P card?
Right.
Correct.
So what the purpose of the P card?
P cards to buy everyday operational supplies, use it for expenses, stuff
What-
of that.
Hotel
Well,
reservations. and things
that-
like
Basically mean that then we don't need P cards then.
Well,
Except
the
for
only
hotel.
thing you ever should put on a P card, in my
Hotel.
opinion, is your hotel room.
And you have to have, in order to get the tax exemption, you have to use a city card for the hotel room to get the tax
And
exemption.
I'll tell you a little bit too, on the P cards, I mean, our accounting department has cut their time basically in half, processing checks at the end of every month. And in paperwork, housekeeping, receipt collection, and accounting before she can pay bills because everything is uploaded. And then two, you gotta keep in mind that from July 1 to June 30th, you're basically following the state's fiscal year. And any money you spend on that P card, you're basically eligible for a rebate at the end of that fiscal year. So that's the benefit behind using P cards, simply because it cuts down on the, the intensive time of issuing POs, matching paperwork, collecting receipts on regular credit cards, and plus there's far more accountability.
It's also used for your training classes too.
Yeah, for training classes go in there. They go in the card. The other question I've got is on the mileage calculated from City Hall. Should that be from City Hall or from the point of origin, whichever is the less?
It could be revised, but we just tried to make a simple.
We tried to make it
standard.
where it's the same and uniform for everyone.
Okay, I was just thinking if you've got an employee that lives in Winder
Like we used to, so, I mean, if I was going south.
and you're going to
we didn't-
Lake Lanier, right? Should they claim mileage from Monroe or from Winder to get to Lake Lanier? I'm just asking the question.
Well, I mean, and that gets to the kind of to the point of it, it becomes economical at that point. Or, like I say, this was put in place and this was suggested more for, housekeeping, more for an easier determination of what everyone's starting point is, as opposed to doing it different by everybody. But obviously it can be changed.
Was this not voted on in December last year?
Not that particular part. That's something that's been added. Or attempted to do.
These are just add-ons to our previous policies. Not only P cards, but just general city travel policies.
I got one more question. When it said about 3 people, who are the 3 people? Like you, your wife, and kid?
No,
Or-
3 people would be,
Business meals.
say for instance, I mean, if you're looking at like a contractor or something of that instance, like 3 people would be, say, Brian, and 2 people that works for him.
Gotcha.
So, no, for not child.
Any more questions? If not, I need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll present that to full council next week. Last item on the agenda for the Finance Committee is discussion of Hyperweb 311.
All right. This is just for discussion only, no motion needed. Just kind of wanted to keep you up to date from what we talked about last month with the C-Click fix. Staff has looked into the Hyperweb 311 program as an alternative to C-Click fix. We believe it is a suitable alternative to C-Click fix, primarily because it will fully integrate into the product we're already using, specifically in water, sewer, gas. And we believe that we can go ahead and create some efficiencies by rolling in some of our other departments into the overall Hyperweb program. Hyperweb 311 app is the add-on public interface. So it's just like C-Click Fix in many regards, allows for citizen input. And overall, I believe the price is going to be comparable, if not just a little bit less, by the time we roll this thing out. You know, if we choose to go to Hyperweb 311, and if you all feel pretty comfortable with it, I will keep C-Click Fix running on a month-to-month until we get the program stood up so that we don't have a gap and we can keep our citizens engaged until then. Of course, we will heavily market the product going forward, as was discussed last month. But overall, I think everybody feels pretty confident in the new 311 app, and we would like to proceed in that direction. I'll be happy to take any questions.
The big thing I like about it that was different was it engaged the customer more. If the customer reports something and they leave an email address there, anytime something changes with that work order, they get an update. There's an automatic update to that deal. So it's all automatic. There's nothing anybody has to do. As that work order is created automatically, and once that guy does that, or that employee does that work order, it's automatically updated to the customer.
The other thing I like about it too is to make our work order system uniform. Different departments use different work order systems. This is going to make the work order system more uniform and also easier because all the people we had in the room is, wow, it works that way. Gee, I like that. So, you know, all departments in the big
Just beyond our general departments here, I mean, we can roll this out to downtown, we can use economic development. There's a variety of things that we can tie in to this app that is then tied into the rest of the city, so we're all on the same page. Currently, we're not all completely on the same page with the C-Click Fix. It's not as streamlined as the 311 that we've explored so far.
When are you projected to try to roll it out?
We'll be working on it right away. It'll probably take 4 weeks maybe to get it stood up. Could take a little bit longer depending on the Apple app that we have to get through to Apple. The Android is already available. But
Getting the Apple app branded to us takes Apple approval, and the Apple approval process takes several weeks. Android's a little more loose with their approval process, and they'll just turn it on with a new. You want to be branded, say Monroe 311 or something like that. Android just lets you do that, but Apple won't. It has to go through a process.
Okay. Any more questions, comments? Okay, Mayor, that concludes the Finance Committee agenda.
Thank you. Next committee is airport. Do you have anything?
We don't have anything, Mayor.
All right. Public Works.
We don't have anything.
Okay. Utilities.
Thank you, Mayor. First item is the purchase of a vehicle for the sewer department. Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Little. This is to purchase a 2017 Ford F-350 service body truck for the sewer collection department. This will be replacing a 2002 Ford F-350 that currently has 208,000 miles. There was 4 bids, lowest bid being courtesy Ford, $43,035. This was budgeted in the 2016 CIP budget of $45,000. Any questions on?
A 16 wouldn't have been cheaper.
You can't get those on.
I don't know if Chris may be able to answer that since he bid it.
Availability runs out as you get later in the year of 2016, so that's why we have to go ahead and bid the 2017.
Are there any other questions?
I just question, like, the XL value package, does that come standard? Because, I mean, there's chrome hub covers and cruise control, and those kind of things seem like a moot point.
The XL is the base. Yeah, the XL is the base truck.
There has to be an automatic selection of the available features, and should be the baseline.
Well, while it doesn't seem like it, they've started doing that. A lot of vehicles are, so that you can't find just the old custom anymore with roll-up windows and just a few things. They've all got the baseline at pretty high level.
$4,000 below the state contract too.
But it's still below state. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Isn't that great?
Yeah, I wish I could buy a vehicle that big with that price.
Yeah.
Anything else? Is there a motion?
I move approval of recommendation to the full council.
Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All those in utilities that are in favor say aye. Aye. We'll recommend that to full council. Next item is the purchase of the Aris C4 CMTS. Mr. Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Little. This is what we've been talking about over the past several months, to double the capacity to our cable customers, to each node. Basically, right now, our existing CMTS, which is the cable modem terminating system, it allows us to push 304 megabits to each node, which is an area of town. This will double that on the downstream side to 608. And on the upstream side, it will triple the amount of bandwidth from the customer to us. A lot of the complaints we get or requests we get from customers, they want to increase that upstream. And what you're seeing there is automated homes, even down to refrigerators now, gamers trying to play high-speed gaming across the networks. And right now we're supporting it, but it's getting harder and harder and harder as we add more customers. So we got with Z-Corum, who does our engineering for our cable modem terminating side. And we went through a process of looking at our existing CMTS and upgrading it, or going with a different CMTS. Our existing CMTS is Cisco product. And I was up front ready to upgrade to Cisco. It's been a good box. It's done its job, but everybody was against me and said the C4 was best. All the engineers said it was best. And after we got through pricing it, it was the best price. So what I'm requested to do is to buy an Aris C4 from NetSource Global for $51,395, which is well under what our projected cost for that was going to be. And I'll take any questions you may have. One thing I want to go ahead and state, this will allow us to have plus 100 megabit to the customer as a package. So we will be coming to you, if you approve this, once we get this installed and running, we'll be coming to you with newer, faster packages for the customers for pricing.
What would be your estimate of the useful life of this CMTS?
Just a little, I'm scared to say that, but I would say 4 to 5 years. I would hope by that time, we will have a plan in place to do more fiber-based products to the home, to the residential side throughout the city, because that's just the way of the future. CMTSs work. I mean, Comcast is buying new CMTSs, Charter's they're buying new CMTSs. And it is a product that works, and it will always be a product that can deliver that baseline internet to the majority of your customers. But, you know, as everything in that department, it changes very quickly.
Did I understand you'll continue to use the current CMTS as a kind of a backup?
Yes, sir. What I would like to do with it, and we're going to evaluate this as we move forward, is not surplus that unit, have that unit sitting in the shelf in case we have a catastrophic failure with the new unit at some point in the future. When that unit's already plugged in and working in the system, you're not going to get a lot of money for it on the open market anyway. So it might be best to keep it there. But we will evaluate that before we make that decision. And we'll bring that decision to you.
And Brian, there's no one else to get bids from?
We've got 3 bids. Well, we got 1 bid and 1 estimate. I don't have those. Let me pull those up in front of me. One was from,
I only saw 2.
they were both around $57,000, but one of them was just an estimate. The guy really wouldn't continue. And the third person from, I think it was Northwest Resellers, we've never purchased from them before. We purchased from these other 2, and we never could get them to give us a reference.
The 2 prices that you have attached here are, one is $57,500 from NW Remarketing,
yes,
Inc., and then
it's hard to find the name
who
of
this
that
other one, the other one's $57,890.
Yeah, who's that one from?
That is from a reseller that works with Z-Coral, for the people that help us engineer.
So,
Let me pull that line. I don't have that.
I think it says Associate Partners.
Associate Partners, that's the name.
That's,
Well, this is, I mean, I was expecting $105,000 for this. And that just shows you what technology does over the years. The price just drops and drops. Just to tell you, you know, we paid a little over $156,000 for that current CMTS down there.
Are there any other questions? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve, or recommend for approval.
Motion from Mr. Bradley. Is there a second? I second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We will recommend that to council. Next item is the vehicle for the cable department. Mr. Thompson.
Yes, sir, Mr. Little. This is a replacement for a 2004 F-250 that is used in our construction department. It's got a little over 200,000 miles on its gas burner, and it's about on its last leg. We did price this out, and we did come in a little bit over our expected budget for this line item. We had expected $37.5. But what we have, I've talked with Mr. Probst, what we could do is pull from another capital improvement line item where we're not seeing a large expenditure this year, and cover that extra $2,300 for a total of $39,849. I'll take any questions you may have.
Ron, why is it important to have a diesel engine rather than gasoline?
Longevity and repairs and the size of the equipment that this unit's pulling. We're pulling mini excavators, we're pulling skid steers, splicing trailers, stuff like that, and it's just an industry standard to have a diesel instead of a gas. The gas
Makes it easier to work on too when you can stock the same parts.
It does.
Shop streamline things.
It does. You see more of your 250 and your 350 and your 3500s, 5500s, all of that same with a diesel. I've never had this 250 we're replacing is the last 250 gas we have in my department. And it's just terrible to have to try to haul stuff. You can't get up a hill with them. It's the added torque that you get from a diesel that is important in this situation.
And to follow Ms. Malcolm's question earlier, according to I'm looking at the visual sheet because it's easier to read, I guess, but the power windows, locks, and mirrors.
That is a standard with that package for the state contract.
It just says it's $1,000 extra on it. Bid.
Well, that's not how the bid, he wasn't a low bid.
Okay.
Ford gives a nationwide huge discount for governmental entities to get that blue oval in their thing. You'll see that on all those bids. There's a huge discount but you have to order what they order inside their program, the way I understand it.
But I thought this was not using the state.
It's lower than the state contract.
Same specification.
Same specification, but it's lower than the state contract.
Are y'all planning on doing a whole lot of pulling those excavators with that truck?
Well, that one every week.
Why not get a 350 instead of 250?
We use a smaller one than what Rodney uses. Rodney uses a bigger size excavator, and we don't use that in this department. We use the smaller ones than the huge stuff. We're not digging that deep. We didn't go with the dual wheel either, Mr. Garrett, because of that same reason.
Any other question? Is there a motion? Is there a motion to recommend the purchase?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? It's motion and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We'll recommend that to council.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Public safety.
Mayor, we got one item on the agenda tonight, approval of the Walton County School SRO program agreement. I'll let Chief Glass handle this.
Thank you, Mr. Riston. Mayor and council come to you asking and recommending approval of the 2016-2017 Walton County Board of Education and City of Monroe School Resource Officer contract. Monroe Area High is the only public school within the city of limits of Monroe now. We've been providing their SRO services since 2005. We received $46,231 for the service to the county, and I request your approval. And if possible, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to take the action on it tonight where I can get a signed copy back to the Board of Education, where we can get their signature on it and get it back here by the time school gets started, if possible. If not, we'll manage it.
We can make that happen. So this is for the whole council now, to vote on the SRO.
You need a motion to amend the agenda.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You can add it, you can take a motion to amend the agenda to add this to
For
item
item
5, items requiring action.
All right, so I need a motion to amend the agenda to add this discussion for item 5, items requiring action.
That'd be correct.
Approval of Walton County School SRO program agreement. Need a motion for that.
So move.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes, so we'll amend the agenda for that. Okay, item 6, economic development.
Good evening. Just want to give you guys an update on the big team, the Suburban Initiative for Community Housing. We have been meeting monthly, and we'll go again for the gift retreat. There's 2 a year. We went to one earlier this year, and we'll be going again in September. It's in Gainesville. We're making good progress. We've begun the housing assessment. We've gotten over 500 homes into the housing assessment. There are 4,000 that have to be reported, so that's a small part, but it's a start. Our interns help with that, and they have completed their internship, so they've all gone back to their colleges. Some were local, so you'll still see their faces around when they're here. It was very successful again, a great experience, and they did some public improvement projects. I believe seeing some pictures of the alleyways they improved and did some other things around the community. So we're pleased with the housing, continuing to move forward. We also are going through the GIS data from the county. We have those numbers. We've started to review that as a team. I'll be presenting that to council when we've gone through and have all the actual numbers. So we will have a real number for rental versus owner. I know people want that. We also have a breakdown of types of living units, number of multifamily, number of single family, number of apartment units in the city limits of Monroe. And they're accurate to date based on the GIS tax records that the county has. That is the data source for QPublic that we have online. So it's going through all that data. It's been very helpful. It's been a lot to dig through it, but it's been very helpful, hopefully for all of you, for decision making moving forward. And I can have that as early as next month for council to review. Also, we are moving forward with the CHIP grant. You'll see some items in the agenda, and excited about that. And when it comes to just tourism, we have a concert this Friday night. We're doing concerts again. Excited about that. The farmers market's still going on, and businesses are filling up in downtown. So all very positive. Thank you for your support. We'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
You may want to share about farm to table dinner that.
Yes, we have pulled together a committee to put on a farm to table dinner. This would be an outdoor dinner that we do on Court Street. It'd be a fundraiser for the farmers market and also for Boost Monroe. So we're looking to raise money for it at this point. But it's using our farmers market vendors, our farm products, and we'll be doing a plated dinner that you would pay a higher ticket price than what you would pay just to eat it. But it's a fundraiser, and we'll do it outside, outdoors, where we host our farmers market. So we're going to be selling tickets soon for that, and we're looking into October to schedule that outdoor event.
Do you have to come back up and do the CHIP grant proposal?
If you have questions for this discussion.
Gotcha.
Okay, thank you, sir. Items of discussion. Have an upcoming public hearing, conditional use 603 South Broad Street, Patrick.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is, like I said, 603 South Broad Street. They're applying for a conditional use to allow them to have a school in that location. Obviously, historically, that was a school previously and has gone through several iterations over the years, and they have applied for and are anticipating getting a conditional use permit for that school at 603 Broad Street. If you have any questions about the project or anything like that, I'll be happy to try and answer them.
And Mayor, let me just, for conflict disclosure, I'm a managing member of the owner of that parcel, so my office will not be able to provide any legal advice should questions arise on that. If conflict be necessary. Conflict counsel be necessary.
Any questions about 603 South Broad? Okay. Item B is the zoning ordinance code text amendment.
Yes, sir. We can go into that further at the public hearing next week, but just a basic synopsis of that. We're basically continuing to clean up the zoning ordinance and trying to make it more functional and consistent with other ordinances and regulations we have in the city, and any sort of scrivener's errors or omissions that we've made over the years in updating it. And if you have any questions on that, there's an Exhibit A there with what it actually entails. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
About tent permits, those kind of things is one thing. Parity in square footage for accessory buildings, single story and two story. A couple of things.
But that's
And
good.
you've got them in yellow too. Right.
Yes, highlighted at the bottom of the page, exactly the same things reiterated on the cover page.
Patrick, would you explain, or sort of like recap, if you will, the sidewalk sign ordinance?
Sidewalk
Or
sign ordinance?
the thing that you're doing here.
The sidewalk display ordinance?
Yeah, that's it, display.
It basically is a portion of the zoning ordinance, and it's also in the code of ordinances to allow for display of wares on the sidewalk. and it basically requires certain areas. It requires a design to be a scale drawing as to what's going to be out there. It requires it to be a certain distance from the street or the curb or intersections. And basically what we're doing with that is lining it up with the code of ordinances. There were some discrepancies there, and that's what that portion of that amendment will do.
Does this include sandwich board type signs on the sidewalk?
Well, sandwich board signs are actually allowed as a permitted sign downtown only, and so no, it wouldn't include sandwich board signs. There would just have to be a permit for those.
So they're not regulated, as this talks about, distance from cross streets right away?
The only regulation well, I guess this would regulate the required travel path being minimum of 5 feet wide, things like that, but and 18 inches from the curb. We would probably apply the same specifications on that, but it's not spelled out, and it's not something that is specifically regulated to that extent.
Well, I know that, I think that's becoming a more frequent way to advertise things downtown.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just suggesting that maybe Ms. Krosick or someone take this and be sure the downtown business owners understand what that ordinance says. Just so we don't have any conflicts come up later.
We'll work together on that and make it happen.
Is there any more questions on that? Text amendments. Okay, item 2 is appointments for planning commission. Mike Eccles rolls off on September the 1st, and John Howard comes up for September the 1st.
Sir, they've both indicated that they'd like to continue to serve if you all.
Pardon?
They've both indicated that they'd like to continue to serve if you all would like for them to.
Okay. So that'll be next week, or if somebody else wants to serve,
I still say that when we have these vacancies coming available, we need to let the public know. And do we?
I don't know if it is.
I don't think so.
It's not that common.
Maybe we need to be notified 2 months before they roll off, so we can talk about it and advertise it to see if folks are interested in serving. I mean, I'd love to have different people on these committees.
As long as they're qualified.
Correct.
And they're willing to put forth the time and the training.
Right.
But I do think that we really need to kind of take that more seriously, because as we move forward, our planning commission is going to become even more vital. As things start to change and we grow, and especially, but it's also important that they have, skills that could enhance, their position on the planning commission.
Could we also occasionally invite them to come in so we could meet them, talk to them, to a council meeting?
Absolutely. I mentioned that to them at the previous meeting at your request last month, and told them that that you would all love to see them here and see their smiling faces and get to know them all better.
I agree. That actually need to be something that all of them need to do, because I'm sitting here looking at these names and I couldn't tell you who 75% of them are serving on these boards.
Well, it's too late for this one, but I think in the future, could we have like a couple of months lead time on when someone's fixing to roll off, so we can.
Just as a discussion item?
Just as a discussion item.
And a heads up.
And a heads up also. Maybe somebody wants to serve that's good at doing some of this stuff, but they just don't know about it.
We could do that, and I've used the application form before where somebody has to have a little resume and a little application. So we could make that
but we've got the application forms.
Okay, well, good.
They're attached to this agenda, huh?
Okay. Moving forward, item number 3 is approval of the CHIP Grant Administration Manual.
I can take that real quick.
Yeah,
If you want me to.
okay.
Prefer to say if needed. I know the CHIP items keep coming before you. Last time it was voted on that y'all can just kind of authorize staff to take the lead and we'll just process the CHIP items as needed. But these 3 here before you tonight, DCA has specifically requested that they be reflected in minutes from our meeting, so that's why these are before you. The first one is a grant administration manual. This just kind of gives us the outline and guidelines of how we should administer the CHIP grant. This is mainly for staff, but we need council approval.
Okay, item 4, can we just go ahead and hit that one too, the
Yeah.
CHIP Grant Policies and Procedures Manual.
Basically the same here, additional policies and procedures. Staff will be taking the lead in administering this. Last month you already approved a third-party administrator. They're already fully familiar with these. We just need your approval for these to proceed with our grant. And number 5, the CHIP grant section 3 policy. Yet another policy that will be administering pertains to training, employment contracting, and other economic opportunities that arise in connection with the expenditure of federal housing assistance, so on and so forth, through this CHIP grant.
Okay. Item 5.
I'm sorry, that wasn't.
Item 6 is out-of-state travel.
So you want to take that one?
Yes.
This is the second class of the 4-class series for the Certified Economic Development Professional designation. Took the first class. They're all in South Carolina, so all 4 of these classes, as far as I know, will be at this same location. It's the National Development Council that's hosting it for us, and because of the BB&T sponsorship, it's a reduced rate. The class is only $250. It's usually $1,500 a class, in that range. So DCA opened it up to Main Street communities. There's a number of DCA staff and Main Street managers that are participating in the training. So past the first class, this is the second one, and I'm assuming there'll be 2 more scheduled next year to complete certification.
Sadie, while you up there, do you know when they're gonna actually lay out the qualification to apply for that CHIP grant?
No, I do not. I don't know the timeline as far as when all of these lines and we can begin putting them out to the community.
Thank you. Item number 7 is the first reading of the zoning ordinance code text amendments. And that will be next week. Items requiring action tonight. The approval of the 2016 millage rate. Logan.
Take that, thank you. So you have before you tonight approval of the 2016 millage rate. And what I'll need is a motion to approve the millage rate as presented on the PT 38 form and to execute all the necessary documentation for the 2016 tax levy for a total millage rate of 7.802 mils. This is the full rollback rate. After calculating that with the tax commissioner and the tax assessor, this is a drop from last year's 8.115, so that's a decrease of 0.313 mils. What we have here is that's the combined millage rate. So we have an M&O, maintenance and operation millage rate of 582 mils and a bond millage rate of 2.220. We've done all the appropriate advertisements with the legal organ back on July 20th, and we are asking for your approval. And as you know, we've already done a contract with the county and the tax commissioner to handle the billing of the taxes later this year.
Any questions for Logan? Hearing none, I need a motion to accept the 2016 millage rate rollback.
I'll make the motion that we adopt the millage rate of 7.802. And that it be noted, this will be the third year in a row we've had a reduction in millage rates, unlike some other jurisdictions around us.
We have a motion by Mr. Bradley, second by Mr. Escott. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Item number 2 is the second reading of the property taxes, section 90-33 ordinance amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance to amend Chapter 90, Article 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Monroe, Georgia, to allow the county commissioner to prepare and mail tax bills and for collection of taxes by the county tax commissioner for other purposes. The Mayor and Council of the City of Monroe hereby ordain as follows. Article 1, Chapter 90, Article 2, Section 90-33 of the Code of Ordinances is hereby amended by deleting said section in its entirety and replacing with the following in lieu thereof. Section 90-33, billing, due date of taxes, authority to extend. Within 45 days after the levy by the mayor and city council, the clerk shall authorize the county tax commissioner to prepare and mail tax bills to all taxpayers. Ad valorem taxes shall be due and payable by the date set by the county tax commissioner for each taxable year, provided, however, no event shall taxes be due or payable on or before 60 days after the date bills are mailed by the county tax commissioner. Article 2, all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. Article 3, this ordinance shall take effect from and after its adoption by the mayor and council of the city of Monroe, Georgia. This constitutes the second reading, Mayor.
Okay. Any questions? All right, need to entertain a motion.
Move to approve, Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Escott,
Second.
second by Ms. Malcolm. All in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Item number 3 is the second reading of the property taxes, section 90.35 ordinance amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance to amend Chapter 90, Article 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Monroe, Georgia, to allow the county tax commissioner to assess penalty and interest on delinquent taxes and for other purposes. The Mayor and Council of the City of Monroe hereby ordain as follows. Article 1, Chapter 90, Article 2, Section 90-35 of the Code of Ordinances is hereby amended by deleting said section in its entirety and replacing with the following in lieu thereof. Section 90-35, penalty and interest. The city clerk shall assess or authorize the tax commissioner to assess a penalty of 10% on all taxes unpaid on the date due and shall collect interest thereon at the rate of 1% per month until paid. Article 2, all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. Article 3, this ordinance shall take effect from and after its adoption by the mayor and the council of the city of Monroe. This constitutes the second reading, Mayor.
Okay. Any questions?
So if they're not paid on the due date, it'll automatically be 10% the very next day. And that is different than what it has been, correct?
No, that is what it currently is. It's
Okay.
different than what the county's is.
Okay. But nothing's changed, it's just that we're authorizing the county to assess.
Correct. The city's taxes were previously due on December 20th.
15th or 20th.
Well, you're running.
Yeah, right, about a month later than the county.
Right.
But the county does not impose a 10% penalty until 90 days after the due date.
Okay.
But the city's ordinance has always imposed the 10% penalty the day after.
Okay. And the date to pay taxes will not change.
The date to pay taxes will change. It will move up with the county date.
Okay, so how are we going to notify? Because I think that's important. I know it'll come in the tax bill, but there's all, everybody gets in their mind. And I think we need to notify immediately for those people that have been able to, to stagger.
According to the agreement that we've already done with the county, they're going to abide by the same policies and procedures that they would for their own tax bills. So their notifications will be exactly the same, county and citywide. Does that make sense?
I think what she's saying is our due date for city taxes is gonna change.
Right.
We need to get that word out.
As soon as we know what it is,
And the
as soon as we
billing.
know what it is, we will advertise.
Didn't I see some advertising already out there?
Yes.
I think something came with it too.
It's already out there and it states that.
They're adopting tonight, so.
In my utility bill, I saw it in the monthly newsletter that Treese does. It already has an article
Yes.
on this particular issue.
That gave a general,
Correct.
around about November 15th. So we've already advertised that, but the exact date, once they, go forward tonight, we'll definitely notify.
The county will get a lot of calls about how the bill's too high.
Yeah, it's gonna be like our utility bills.
That's what's gonna happen.
So this year, 2016, city and county taxes will be due on the same date. And that will be when?
They will decide, that will be
It's usually November 15th.
based upon their motion tonight at the county meeting, but most of them may adopt the digest as well. But most likely it will be November 15th or 16th, without pulling out the calendar and counting the actual technical days of, I believe it's 60, or maybe it's 90 under their, under county, but it will be roughly what it always is, November 16th, 15th, 16th, or 17th, depending on how the days fall.
But did you say that the city's penalty on late payment is going to be different than the county's?
Yes, it always has been.
And they're willing to compute that and keep up with it?
Now, we may have to bring another one back before you. There was a change in state law, went into effect July 1st. We're still waiting on some legal opinions from the Attorney General to see how some of that's going to be interpreted. That calculates the interest. So I may be bringing another one back before you to replace this one next month.
That's correct. The interest calculations have been changed under state law. And so this is probably going to have to get changed anyway.
But under some circumstances, the county tax commissioner has waived these penalties. Will he be able to waive on them?
No, we ironed that out in that last agreement, that any notification of waiving penalties and interest would have to go through us. So, we still carry the power on that.
Okay, any more questions? Hearing none, need a motion. Section 935.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Little,
Second.
second by Mr. Curtis. All in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Item number 4 is the second reading of property taxes, section 936, ordinance amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance to amend Chapter 90, Article 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Monroe, Georgia, to allow the county tax commissioner to collect delinquent taxes and for other purposes. The Mayor and Council of the City of Monroe hereby ordain as follows. Article 1, Chapter 90, Article 2, Section 90-36 of the Code of Ordinances is hereby amended by deleting said section in its entirety and replacing with the following thereof. Section 90-36, collection of delinquent taxes, fees, or other revenue and interest. For the collection of delinquent taxes, a 5-pay shall be issued by the city clerk or the county tax commissioner and executed under the procedure provided by state law governing the execution process from the Superior Court or by use of any other available process and remedies. So B, a lien shall exist against all property on which city property taxes are levied as of the assessment day of January 1 of each year, which shall be superior to all other liens except that it shall have equal dignity with those for federal, state, or county taxes. Sub C, the amount due on all delinquent 5-pays issued under subsection A of this section, as well as any interest or penalty thereon, shall be listed as part of and in addition to the annualized law tax bill. Sub D, any license, privilege, or permit granted by the city shall be revoked by the city clerk for failure to pay any money due the city for taxes, fees, penalties, interest, fines, or other revenue within 3 calendar months and 10 days after any payment is due, provided that any person aggrieved by the order made within 10 days thereof, appeal to the mayor and city council, who, after a hearing thereon, may approve or modify the order or restore the license, privilege, or permit by adopting a motion to that effect, but only upon finding that the city clerk's action is not factually or legally correct. So B, all persons subject to the occupation tax levy pursuant to Article 4 of this chapter shall first, before the issuance of the occupation tax permit required herein, show evidence that all personal property ad valorem taxes due and payable to the city of Monroe and Walton County have been paid. Article 2, all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. Article 3, this ordinance shall take effect from and after its adoption by the mayor and council of the city of Monroe, Georgia. This constitutes the second reading, Mayor.
Any questions? Hearing none, need a motion on section 90-36.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Mountain.
Second.
Second by Ms. Gregg. All in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Item number 5 is the Walton County School SRO program agreement. We've already heard from Chief Glass on it, so we need to entertain a motion unless there's a question.
I'll move to approve.
Motion by Ms. Malcolm,
Second.
second by Ms. Jaycox. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. That will conclude our regular meeting. We need to meet in executive session, so we need a motion to adjourn into executive session.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Malcolm,
Second.
second by Ms. Jaycox. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next, let's go to the break.